Hello, hello. Welcome to day 1126 of Connecting the Thoughts. Quote for today is Step away from arguments that are unhealthy. Step away from arguments that are unhealthy. So you might ask, okay, so I get it when you're saying step away from arguments, but what do you mean unhealthy? Aren't all arguments unhealthy? Hmm. More on that on the other side of the show reel. If you haven't subscribed already, do subscribe to the YouTube channel because here's where I post daily videos on the little things that make life big. And don't some arguments take up a large part of our day on some occasions? So do think about that, and I will catch you on the other side of the show reel. Welcome back. Welcome back on day 1126 of Connecting the Thoughts. Code for today is very interesting. We are talking about step away from arguments that are unhealthy. Yes, and before I left for the little break for the show reel, I did leave you with a question. I said, are all arguments unhealthy? Let me know your thoughts on that. Do you think all arguments are unhealthy? Give me a yes or a no. Hey, Farah. Farah says yes. Sometimes silence is a bliss. Yes, definitely. Silence definitely is a bliss. It's a conversation. It's a conversation that you can have with someone by just being silent. And sometimes you can have another conversation with people by just pretending that everything is fine and you can just move on. However, what does that then do to your personal space? What does that then do to your headspace? How does that then begin to impact you? Because then you're wearing a mask like the other person, and then sometimes wearing masks can be suffocating. So we're talking about stepping away from arguments that are unhealthy, and why should you do that in the first place? Stepping away. I like what you're saying. I like what you're saying, Srinivas. In fact, Srinivas, I was thinking of you 2 days ago. Thank you for joining. Argument itself means I am right and the other is wrong. True. And that itself is an unhealthy way of looking at things, which is why I am saying that all arguments are not unhealthy. I think there can be healthy arguments too, arguments where the other person and you both listen. In my opinion, in my model of the world, and of course it's debatable, I'm happy if you'd like to argue about that, because what I'm saying is when you're in conversation with someone and it begins to kind of get a little heated up, a good thing to do would, of course, as Farah said, silence. And another way to look at it would be to listen. And and it's like one goes with the other, right? Yes, discussion is listen. I use that word on purpose because I wanted to create that trigger, that thought process. So when you're having a conversation, let's just even call it a conversation. When you're having a conversation with somebody where it begins to feel like an argument, when it begins to feel like an argument, you can change the way that feeling is by just coming from a place of listening, coming with the intention of listening to what the other person is saying. And of course, there will be someone who would like to argue about it and say, no, but even if I'm listening and the other person isn't, then how does it become a conversation? Then you wait for the right moment. Then you wait for that conversation to pass. And then you have a fresh one with a fresh mindset, with a fresh heart space, and then see how it works. So lots of comments coming in, and I think this is going to be an interesting conversation. Discussion is to listen, says Srinivas. I like what you said, Farah. Argument can be toxic when the other person thinks they're always right, when the other person is overconfident. Yes, But when you are looking at the other person as overconfident and that they are thinking that they are right, then what does that say about what you're thinking about yourself? Are you in the process belittling yourself? And is that a fair thing to do? So when other is saying argument is what is done in courts. Yes, arguments are done in courts. Argument is about person and discussion is about subject. I can probably argue about that. So um, what the only message I'm really trying to drive home, guys, is when you're in conversation with someone, we're not even looking at it as an argument or a discussion. We're just looking at it as a conversation. And the reason I used argument over there, because I knew that word would spark something with the listeners. And here and there, the comments coming in are proving me right, because it happens all the time. We get into a conversation with somebody, and then it just escalates into what could be an argument. However, if in that conversation one party makes a conscious, mindful decision to listen or to go silent, because one, you can't do one without the other. You can't listen without being silent. You can't be, you cannot listen to what the other person is saying if you are talking. If you try this as an experiment, the next time you're in an argument with someone, then just go silent or just reduce your voice. Just reduce your voice a little bit. You just reduce the tone of your voice, you reduce the sound of your voice. And while the other person might be speaking at whatever level they want to, you respond to them very softly, very calmly, very, very toned down. What does that do? What does that do? The other person then begins to tone down too, because they're literally mirroring you in behavior. In an argument, again, quote, in an argument, when you are speaking to someone loudly, they will respond back to you loudly. However, if you bring down your tone, they will also bring down their tone. And then there will be a certain level of silence, or there will be a certain level of space in the conversation for each of you to listen to each other. So think about this. Hey Mitashi, thank you for joining. Okay, and as I was sharing that, I can see lots of comments have come in. Farah says, an argument can be changed to a discussion when both parties listen and are open to change. Understand that a person is expressing because that matter has affected the person. Absolutely. Thank you. Uh, yes, Farah, when you are open, it's beautiful flow both sides. Arguments mostly end with one winning and the other losing. Discussions end with both learning. I like that, Srinivas. Thank you. Farah, you get to know the person is overconfident by studying the person. And we have Mitashi, who has joined us and is going to bring immense value to this conversation. Mirror neurons, ma'am. Yes, definitely mirror neurons. So that's what I was talking about, right? When you are in a conversation with somebody and it changes, it evolves into an argument, um, then you need to step away as it becomes unhealthy. Because yes, sometimes with friends we tend to have arguments which are even healthy. I mean, I don't mind calling a conversation, because sometimes as friends we're pulling each other's legs, we want to kind of fool around, we want to play silly. So those conversations I would call more of a healthy argument, because just for the purpose of calling it an argument. Siblings could have arguments that don't mean any bad intention, but they're just being siblings at the end of the day. So, yes, having healthy arguments is possible. And again, it is open to argument from you. Um, but in a conversation that is a potential argument, bringing down your tone, kind of lowering your voice, slowing down the pace in conversation, that can lead to the other person also mirroring back. As Srinivas pointed out, mirroring neurons, the other person will begin to mirror your behavior and come to a space of alignment, and then create that gap where the other person is willing to listen to you because you have toned down and are coming to a place of listening to them. And yes, as Srinivas said, in an argument, one wins and the other loses. So great. If sometimes, as okay, I'm just going to quote Shah Rukh Khan here. कुछ जीतने के लिए कुछ हारना भी पड़ता है. That is a bazigar. So when somebody is losing in a conversation, that doesn't mean they lost because the other person won. Sometimes to go silent in a conversation and let the other person have the upper say is because you respect the relationship more and above what you had to say in that moment. So giving yourself some room, and that so beautifully aligns with what Farah is saying. Newlyweds can have arguments, healthy ones too. True that. And I do agree, when you're in a new relationship, it just doesn't have to only be about weds. It can be as a friendship, as a collaboration, as somebody who's working together, who you're working together with. If you're going to be in that space of getting to you, because you're still getting to know the person, the grooves of that conversation, of that relationship, are still learning to fit into each other. You're both learning your ways around each other. So yes, if there is something that you need to put across the table as your point of view, then you can do so in a very ethically correct way. So yes, Farah says, but doesn't that give a room to the person who wins to oppress the other? It truly depends on your self-respect for yourself, Farah. Because again, it, nobody can really oppress you until you give them the permission to, honestly. And it takes a bit of muscle building for that. And again, you just need to come from a place of respecting yourself first. Nobody can oppress you, even in a relationship. No one can. You have to build that respect and for yourself first, and only then. So as I said, choosing silence in an argument, and then yeah, self-respect, that's the word. So choosing silence in an argument because you respect yourself, your point of view. Okay, you're listening to the other person because that relationship matters to you, and then to bring it up later on when the other person is in a place to listen to you. And again, tonality, timing, space, where you are in when you're bringing up that conversation, all of this makes so much of a difference in the way the conversation goes, whether it kind of works in your favor or whether it works out the window. Looks like we're going to go on for a long time today. Lots of comments coming in. So Mitashi says, how much energy do we wish to invest in an argument is imperative to know for us. Some arguments can be draining, and at the cost of losing the argument, people keep at it. But peace of mind is a better option for those uh, to choose for self. So step away and find your peace. Hats off, absolutely. Self respect and self love. Yes, practice a lot of self love. Mita, she says, we need to respect our boundaries and not allow anyone to disrespect us or our space. Yes, having boundaries is so important. A lot of times we are unable to build the boundaries around us because we have been taught to be givers, and guilty as charged. I tend to give more than I am open to receive, and so I sometimes do struggle, but I'm learning. I'm still learning from my mistakes, and I'm learning to build those boundaries and fortify them because I realize that it is so important to say no when I want to say no. Srinivas, gems, people. Today we've gone like touching to 15 minutes already. Srinivas says, at the end, it's a word we are choosing. As long as we understand, we need to give space to understand each other and be better at the end than we began. All is well. So beautifully said, Srinivas. I couldn't agree more. Oh my God, me too. I give and it drains me all the time. Yes, I do know that. It tends to drain us. It tends to drain us. But then, which is why I love what you said about self love, right? It's about self love and self respect. You need to understand what you are looking for. You need to know what makes you happy. Remember the four things: love, respect, hope, and trust. Four things that we need in our life to keep uh, that structure of your life, standing and strong. However, we are always feeling bitter because we are expecting the other person to give us these four things. While what you actually need to do is to give it to yourself, and then share with the world from the outpour, from the excess that you have of love, as well as respect, as well as trust and hope. So give that to yourself first, and then from what you have, give to the others, not the other way around. All right. We give, Farah, because we don't know any better. We want to be in everyone's good books. Oh, yes, we do. Oh, yes, we do. Yes, we definitely do. So, thank you, everyone. Looks like this is an interesting conversation, something that is close to everyone's heart, because we all have been there. We've been in arguments that have turned healthy or unhealthy. We've been there, and we all know that we need to step away from conversations that do not serve us. Yet we sometimes entertain them because either we're trying to prove a point to the other person or to ourselves. So think about what is serving you and what isn't. uh, Self-love indeed. Rukaya, how much we love ourselves will be a deciding factor about how much we wish to waste of ourselves into an argument or even relationship. That is so, so powerful. We all need to impress and keep our names clear. Yes, we do. Thank you, Javed. Very well said. Guys, from the way this is working out, I really think a lot of us need to hear this conversation because this seems to be very close to everybody's heart. Tag a friend who needs to receive this message. The link to this, the shareable link to this would be on the YouTube channel. If you haven't subscribed already, I'm going to scroll all the way up past all these comments and share that with you. So go to the YouTube channel, share the link, and share it across all those groups that you're on, all those WhatsApp groups, everywhere that you have your friends. Let them read and listen into this conversation, because I think today's conversation was super, super powerful, and it can definitely help a lot of people. So share this video with your friends, with family, with your peers, with your colleagues. Let them know that what is the difference between a discussion, how it escalates into an argument, and how an argument can be healthy or unhealthy, and the power of boundaries and self love and respect. So, thank you for joining me on this conversation. If this has been of value to you, please write in comments saying, I am mindful. Simple as that. I am mindful. I am mindful of my conversation. I am mindful of my tonality. I am mindful of the light that I share. I am mindful of the power that I have. More power to you and us. Absolutely. So, thank you, Vitashi. I am mindful of the relationships I have. I am mindful of the experiences I'm inviting into my world. I am mindful of what I am sharing. I hope so. And I am mindful that I shall meet you tomorrow. So until tomorrow, keep smiling, keep shining, stay safe. And thank you for connecting the thoughts with me. Thank you so, so much. I am mindful in comments. If this has been of value to you, tag a friend who needs to receive this message today. Thanks.